write that down, Fumi Saito.
Write that down.
Write that. Write that.
With Fumi Saito and Justin Knipper.
Write that down, Fumi Saito.
Hey friends, what's up? It's Justin from Fight Game Media, and I'm here with the first episode of Write That Down with Fumi Saito. Fumi Saito-san, welcome.
Hello from Tokyo.
How are you doing?
Good.
It's
Holiday season.
it's getting cold, and it's
So people are finishing up the year, if they're working. But because of pandemic this year, most people started working with what you call a remote work from house, from your home.
That's right.
People, finishing up this week, pretty much.
Are you going to do anything for Christmas? Will you buy a fried chicken or have Christmas cake?
No, I am not doing a whole lot, but my wife and my sister and I went out for dinner last night.
Oh, nice. How was it?
Yeah, it was nice, nice restaurant in hotel at hotel KO Plaza Hotel.
Ooh.
Yeah, we had the
fancy.
course, full course dinner,
That's
Korean
wonderful.
barbecue, full course dinner.
Oh, you're making me hungry. All right, so
Yes.
before we went on the air, we definitely had to talk about New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 15 that's coming up.
Sure.
And actually, just today, on the day that we're recording, the Japanese government came out with an announcement saying that no more events past 5,000 people or so. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So can you fill us in a little more on what's going on with the parameters from the government?
But the announcement came way after New Japan started selling these tickets for the event.
Right.
So I understand the New Japan had to stop selling the ticket because they were going to have like a 10,000 people instead of 5,000 people. If you remember, if you really pack Tokyo Dome, that you can build the stadium anywhere from 45,000 to 70,000 people, But of course, because of this, COVID pandemic and the social distancing seating, and they have to come up with different layout, design, how to seat people apart from each other and enough room to walk around. And they were going to build Tokyo Dome, this 10,000 people like designing, but now it's 5,000. So they realistically, they have to stop selling those tickets now.
I mean, since they're already over 5,000, I'd imagine 5,000 sold. Do they have to?
I don't know what they're gonna do. Have a video wall viewing right outside the building, but these people paid expensive tickets.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they will be making official announcement regarding that ticket and seating situation.
That's right. And it won't affect the match card in any way. It's just more of we'll see what happens as the day goes on.
And then I have a feeling that from this point on, all these big events like this will be, live streaming, right?
I think so.
Not just New Japan World, but they may have different outlet just for the event, so people can pay for it per event.
Right.
Yeah, most of the concerts are doing it already,
and they're pretty popular too, I hear.
Yeah, how popular? Yes, Justin, this rock, like a local rock band live house culture in Tokyo.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're like the all standing room only, crazy packed live house with live music and all. That's all no now,
Right.
Yeah, those Koenji live house, you could only have up to 20 or 30 people with distancing, and that's crazy, right there. But most of these live bands are doing live streaming, like $20 a ticket, and archive it. You can watch over and over too. And a lot of different way to do it. Whomever purchased the live streaming ticket will be receiving their T-shirt or something too.
So do you see that becoming more of a maybe part of what's going on in the wrestling business in Japan, at least? Will we see more live events with more fan interaction, like pay-per-views?
Home or not, that the wrestling was going to shift the whole business into live streaming thing on the internet sooner or later.
Right.
Yeah, when the internet started, let's say not quite 20 years. Yeah, it started becoming popular about 20 years ago. Everybody was, seeing things, and this pretty soon moving image. When the internet got popular, there was no moving pictures, right? Remember?
Yeah.
Now that of course everything will be like a movie, television, and now that they are trying to find a way to to have people pay for the events, concerts, movies, of course wrestling events per show kind of basis. And yeah, this is the business model of coming years.
Is that something that Abema TV does? Something similar to that?
Yeah, Abema TV, yeah, you have to sign up with them. They have so many different shows. It's like you sign up with Abema TV and you just signed with 200, 300 television channels or something. You'll never watch that many TV,
Right.
but technically available is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I immediately think anytime I hear 120 whatever channels, you go, wow.
You'll never watch that many
It sounds
TV
great,
shows.
but there's no time. But yeah, usually you
Also,
want to
you have to look for it. You have to find what you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different style than I guess what we grew up with. It's just
Yeah,
going
well,
in a different
definitely. Yeah.
direction.
Maybe in 5 to 10 years, television is going to be something of the past.
You think so?
Maybe.
I
Or
think in America versus Japan, I think in the States, TV has more power than in Japan.
TV has a lot of power here too. Network channel is the strongest things. Channel 4 Nippon TV, Channel 6 TBS, Channel 7 TV Tokyo's, Channel 8 Fuji Television, and Channel 5 TV Asahi, of course, and NHK's. Those network channels are really, really powerful. And what I think is, though, they are going to create their own internet channels too.
How would that work?
Well, the traditional TV will remain, but they will have exact same programming on the internet.
So you could access whatever would be airing on TV Asahi, for example.
Yeah, on the internet version of TV Asahi. And also all the programming, everything but live news will be archiving on-demand service. So any shows you missed, you can just go back and watch it from the start.
Things are changing really quickly.
Yeah. I feel old, but technically that's how I understand. Well, let's go through the January 4th Tokyo Dome card and January 5th card.
Yes.
Traditionally Tokyo Dome shows had like 10 to 12, 13 matches. Remember?
They were pretty long.
Yeah, 4-hour, 5-hour show. Because
Sure.
of this Corona COVID pandemic, this year just 6 matches each night. Yeah.
I think, though, in general, that's just easier on everybody. It's easier on the wrestlers. It's easier on the fans.
I think so too. And also easier for more casual audience.
Right.
See, hardcore wrestling fans want to sit there all night long and watch 10 matches, 12 matches, even 15 matches, WrestleMania all evening, But for these movie gore, concert gore, more casual the entertainment fans who think New Japan is so fashionable and fad and kakoi, if you know.
Very cool.
Those fans can only sit there for maybe max 3 hours, just like going concerts or watching longer movies or something.
Yeah, in the past you've compared the New Japan fans or New Japan World fans to WWE Universe.
Oh, exactly like that.
So they only see New Japan as like when they hear wrestling, they think you mean New Japan wrestling,
Automatically, New Japan. Yeah,
and
of
that's
course.
it.
Those Tokyo Dome live crowd will include hardcore fans too, because you will always have a number of hardcore fans who watch everything.
Oh, of course.
So Tokyo Dome audience will include those crowd too. But generally speaking, New Japan fans are so much like WWE Universe that they only care about the Major League. I'm not
I
saying other
see.
companies aren't Major League. In my eyes, wrestling companies are wrestling companies. But for general audience, yes, New Japan is the only major company. And as a matter of fact, New Japan is the only wrestling company with network television.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're in Japan, you can see clearly that New Japan is the only real company that has a chance, if things were like they were last year, that could have a event at an arena or actually go to Budokan and fill it out. Not like how recently, Noah and Stardom are going there, but that's on a different circumstance. It's because, it's not like they're going there because they're going to sell the place out. No company at the
That's of
moment.
course, but you won't do it unless you're trying to sell that place out.
Right.
But it was like they have to promote it like that's their biggest event ever.
Yeah, but isn't that transparent? Isn't that easy to kind of see through that? I feel like.
But it is true. That's
Yeah.
going to be, the February Pro Wrestling Noah Budokan will be their biggest event in years, and you can see it that the Shiozaki against Keiji Muto, that their World Heavyweight Championship match. That's the card they want to present as their biggest event. That you gotta go with that.
What do you think about that booking actually, with Shiozaki and Muto? And
It is the biggest single match they can produce. Yes.
do you think it's the best choice, or do you think they should keep going with their own talent? Because for a lot of American fans, they were.
You will need a mixture of superstars, and Go Shiozaki obviously needs Keiji Muto rub. I mean, Muto is the big, it's like say Hulk Hogan or somebody, right?
Right. Even still.
No pro wrestling, no fans want Shiozaki to be able to beat Muto and celebrate.
I'm surprised Muto can still get in the ring after surgery. It seemed pretty dire when he had surgery last year.
I believe he's looking at it like he has 5 to 10 matches left in him.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? And also, he's an expensive performer. He makes more money per match than any superstar.
Is that true?
I think so. In Japan, yes.
And
he is more famous than you and I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because when you think about, when you and I talk about who was the biggest superstar in Japanese wrestling history, we always have to talk about people like Giant Baba, the Antonio Inoki, the Jumbo Tsuruta, the Riki Choshu, the people from decades ago, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but today's fans' eyes, Keiji Muto is the biggest legend.
I see. Yeah. So it's almost like people today know Hulk Hogan, but they probably don't know Bruno Sammartino.
Right. And also
something
people,
like that.
People don't know. People know Hulk Hogan, but never really seen him in his prime time.
Sure.
Hulk Hogan, or even Bret Hart at that, or Stone Cold and Rock in that too. That people didn't. I mean, today's fan haven't seen those guys live, or when they're in prime time. They never lived it. Stone Cold, Rock, Hulk Hogan. Those are the people you watch on videotapes or your DVD or WWE Network. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, exact same way about New Japan World, that streaming service. They actually the producer and not the producer, but the server and who runs the New Japan World, the website and the streaming service, they can count how many people have seen which match and how many times they've stepped on.
Oh, they recently changed kind of servers or something.
Yeah, not just that,
right?
but the technology-wise, how many people and which subscriber stepped on, like a walking through, which matches are viewed and how many times they, have replayed or something. And they already did this big statistics that today's fans are not watching Antonio Inoki matches on that service at all.
Wow.
I mean, you and I would go in and watch Inoki against Tiger Jeet Singh or something. Inoki against Strong Kobayashi or something like that. Inoki against Dusty Rose, Bob Backlund, anybody like that, because I like it. But today's fans, all this match, they'll come in and watch. Do you know which match it was?
Muto?
Yeah. The oldest match they can sit and watch and sit through the match is Muto against Nobuhiko Takada Tokyo Dome match from 1994. That is the ancient match for today's fans.
That's
like the beginning of the history.
Beginning of their history, yeah.
Yeah, they're modern wrestling history or something.
Yeah, sure. So it's almost like NWO was the kind of line between one era and the next era.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that. I mean, I don't think Muto Takada match was that old, but today's fans look at it as a pioneer era.
I thought it was more popular just a couple of years right before that. Maybe like 1992, 1993.
Pretty historical because essentially the Muto Takada match pretty much end the legacy of UWF myth.
Because he lost to Pro Wrestling Move.
That too. And
Figure
also
4.
end of UWFI. And the UWF was like a revolutionary, which was going to change wrestling into legitimate combat sport and legitimate contest, all those things that 80s fans and early 90s fans really believed in,
So could you so this is hard to, I guess, absorb or understand for fans that don't speak Japanese.
Okay.
So the difference between the fans at the time, between the New Japan Pro Wrestling fans and the quote unquote shoot fans or cement fans like of UWFI or Pancrase or
Rings,
Fujiwara, Rings, or whatever. It seemed like there was those fans were kind of like rival groups. Like if they like one team and the other group likes the other team. But I never understood exactly why or why it was so heated, because it was so heated. It was 60,000 or something in Tokyo Dome, maybe twice in 4 months. So
yeah.
I always wanted to understand.
And also Rings had their monthly Yokohama Arena kind of shows,
Sure. And Takada, UWFI had
every month.
Right. And his face
that's popular. That's popular.
The subway, his face was on the subway, like the posters are on the subway trains for Takada. I never understood why Takada was so popular or as popular as because he felt like even today he's still so popular as more like a talent, like, and a wrestler.
Well, he is a TV talent now, and he never looked back, and he doesn't mingle with wrestling people, and yeah.
I mean, how is he viewed from the point of view of the wrestling community?
Yeah, it's like I don't even know how much farther we have to go back to understand this thing. It was all wrestling, because hardcore fans watched everything. We have to know that. Hardcore fans watched New Japan. In 90s, Misawa, Kawada, Kobashi's All Japan, which was so popular, they watched it. The same people watched Onita's death matches. It's crazy. It's like eating hot food, and yeah, like junk food, I guess. And then you have to go back to Rings, the Takada's UWFI, a smaller show, but the Fujiwara's show, and Pancrase, complete shoot. They tried, and they still called it professional wrestling. So there was like a lot of different things that people have, you can choose from, and they share the philosophy, and actually it came from New Japan, Antonio Inoki era. And all through 70s, Antonio Inoki was telling people, wrestling fans, he doesn't know about other people's other wrestling, but my wrestling is real. Is that good?
Hmm. So, I mean, that was obviously, it was talking about Baba, right?
Yeah, but that made both companies as popular though, because when you believe in Inoki's philosophy, there are same number of people who believe in Giant Baba style matches too. That's very important. And fans like me growing up, I wanted to watch both.
Right.
If it was baseball, you have National League and American League. It's a little bit different, but see, all the famous American superstars you read on magazines, the Funks, the Mil Maskers, the Hardy Race, the Nick Bockwinkel, the Little Bruiser Brody, all these people came for Giant Baba's company. Whereas Antonio Inoki didn't really have the superstar American talent. They had Tiger Jeet Singh, and they signed the deal with Vince McMahon Sr. Then Andre the Giant, other people start coming, and two sets of American superstars, And but the Inoki's way of thinking was that he was the wrestler who had a Muhammad Ali fight. Remember 1976?
Mm-hmm.
That made him global superstar, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyhow, that Inoki promised wrestling fans that whatever that is that you believe in or not believe in, I will make professional wrestling a major sport and a legitimate sporting events.
Mm-hmm.
And some people believed, some people was always skeptical, or you're a good wrestling fan or always follow all the storyline in you'll be a good wrestling fan and watch everything like I did. Anyhow, that the UWF was almost a counterpart of Inoki's philosophy. They went out and actually started doing their style. They don't bounce off the ropes. You don't do the silly moves. You don't fight outside the ring. You do the serious wrestling. Work though still. But in 1984, 1985, UWF, the original UWF, with Maeda, Takada, Fujiwara, the original Tiger Masks, Satoru Sayama, Yamazaki, all those people. Minoru Suzuki and Masakatsu Funaki hasn't even started yet. They were in high school. But anyhow, that the UWF became this revolutionary that this wrestling is real this time. They are going to make wrestling legitimate sport. They bring in people like Karl Gotch to be a symbol. And there was a movement. That made New Japan a little, people start scratching their head. Wasn't New Japan real? Then a lot of things happen. Does that make sense? Are you following me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess I was watching it from perspective, I was younger, but I was also in the States. So I saw UFC come up at the same time, pretty much.
Yeah, same time as Pancras, like 93, 94. Yeah.
I think Pancrase, that's where I first saw Pancrase was on, they would show these UFC infomercials on certain cable channels, and that same kind of infomercial channel that played the UFC commercials would play Pancrase. Yeah, in English. It's a hybrid. We are hybrid wrestlers.
Hybrid wrestling, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the first year or so, Ken Shamrock was working both companies.
Yeah, that's right. And Dan Severn was working in UWF and UFC. Yeah.
UWFI, yeah.
UWFI, excuse me. Yeah.
The original UWF only lasted 2 years, 84 and 85. Then the UWF crew like Maeda, Takada, Fujiwara, Kido, Yamazaki all went back to New Japan and worked New Japan as UWF, like your Bullet Club kind of, faction. Then Maeda, one by one, they left 87, 88. They started the second version of UWF, which people really believed. But that, internal turmoil or the power struggle or political, whatever you call it, this second version of UWF split into three different companies in spring of 91. 91, 92? Anyhow, that Takada's UWF International, you call it UWFI in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Maeda's Rings, he started all by himself, just him. And Fujiwara Gumi, professional wrestling Fujiwara Gumi, Fujiwara and young Funaki and young Minoru Suzuki and his guys. So split into three groups. Another year later, Fujiwara group split into original Fujiwara Gumi and Funaki and Minoru Suzuki's Pancras. They started their own company when they were 23, 24. Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah. So then Fujiwara Gumi, another group, the Battlers, Yuki Ishikawa's Battlers, became independent from Fujiwara Gumi. So there's like 4 or 5 different work shoot companies out of UWF. Yeah.
Right.
All different dojos. And there's so many younger talent that wanted to train there.
But did those talent, did they want to be pro wrestlers or did they want to fight? Because by the time Battle Arts was around, shoot fighting, NHB or whatever it was called at the moment, it was gaining a little bit more momentum around the world. And I started to think, okay, if your whole gimmick is that you're quote unquote a real fighter, why don't you just do the real fight? They're available now. So when I think of Takara, when he fought Hickson Gracie, I just didn't really understand in the end what was all that for, because it was all an act. It's like,
and you lose twice.
Poor. It's very he looked like really like an amateur. He didn't look like he knew what he was doing at all. And if you go back and read the interviews, it's like when he was training, I think it was training with the Machado brothers, the Beverly Hills group, and he was getting tapped out by jiu-jitsu white belts before the fight. It's like, it's pretty dangerous, don't you think, to go in
and
main event?
What was not good was kind of pretty stupid hindsight, was that those 2 Tokyo Dome shows, Takada against Hickson Gracie, they did that twice, 97 and 98, twice at the Tokyo Dome, packed Tokyo Dome, great business, great payday. But it was the day that you could never go back to professional wrestling and say you were the greatest.
Absolutely. It's over. And
what was big mistake was, though, those 2 Tokyo Dome shows were not promoted by UWFI. Different people did it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it was already after Keiji Muto match at the Tokyo Dome that pretty much UWFI myth being destroyed over and over. And the company's going out of business, that the guys have to find place to work, and pretty much Takada's UWFI legacy was used by now starting MMA companies like Pride. Pride was not all that popular at the beginning. The MMA company, famous pro wrestler to work. And more often than that, professional wrestlers went in there, name wrestlers, went in there and kind of lost, huh?
Yeah, quite a few.
That was the beginning of the dark age of Japanese professional wrestling history. Pride, MMA, K1, or Inoki Bombaye, all those companies running New Year's Eve at the 3 separate stadiums, all those things. And a lot of the serious loyal wrestling fans left wrestling. That if wrestling was a legitimate sport, that would look like this. And a lot of the wrestling fans didn't come back to wrestling. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it killed a part of the business in ways.
Oh, not just business, but the believability, or something you grew up with, or something that you believed in, and something you defended from your friends and schoolmates in your uncle and you know all those people. I've been defending wrestling all my life, right?
They betray you.
Yeah, it's like yeah, but the your greatest superstar Takada is like that. It's like oh my gosh, right? And oh, that was the beginning of Dark Age. Yeah, and they Inoki turned around and sided with MMA people instead of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and eventually Inoki sold the company too, right? That was part of the deal too. It didn't happen in year two, but when you look back and see all these sequence, all this, what happened in 7, 8, 9 year period. Oh wow, wrestling had to go through dark age until you have your Tanahashi and like
Okada.
Shinsuke Nakamura. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God. But the Muto at the same time, Keiji Muto is one of those people who survived though.
That's right.
Liger, Chono, all these people are strong enough to kind of stay down a little bit, but never quit. And the rest, if you wait, a few more years, wrestling will be popular again. You know why? Because MMA don't really create you superstars.
That's right, because you don't have total control over the product.
Yeah, but if you are Mike Tyson,
that's right.
Yeah,
That's true
or
too.
every once in maybe once in lifetime, you have somebody like Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Yeah, that can be done. Yeah. And Sakuraba, Kazushi Sakuraba was kind of like that.
Yeah.
He always called himself professional wrestler. He defended professional wrestling and he defended where he came from, but he didn't really work wrestling match either. The people wanted to see him, or promoters or company or TV stations, whomever was running those big MMA shows, always wanted to have Sakuraba, and they want him to be MMA superstar instead of your professional wrestling superstar.
Why was that?
Everybody's game plan was like out throwing up, but Sakuraba was among it, and he was standing right in the center. Business was done, and Sakuraba still consider himself as a professional wrestler, which is great,
Still to this day.
Yeah, today he works pro wrestling North Show now, but he's 51 years old too now.
Yeah, I can't believe he's still wrestling.
Sakuraba and Takayama pretty much saved the dying professional wrestling in Dark Age, so we gotta give him credit.
They survived. At Kojima too.
Kojima? But Kojima never worked MMA matches.
That's right. He never did. Just pro wrestling.
But at the same time, Kojima was the kind of person who would work both New Japan and be IWGP champion, and work All Japan and be Triple Crown champion to save this traditional professional wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Went double time.
They lived the same era.
I'm waiting for a few more years because the more information
to understand the whole thing.
Yeah, right. It's kind of I want to look backwards.
And you look back and you finally understand what was happening then.
Because right now I still don't feel it's too
soon.
Yeah, it's not long enough ago.
Yeah, and also for me personally, it hurt to it really hurts to look back. That year 2007 was that was a time that Gong magazine went out of business. Down. Weekly Fight went out of business. And my magazine, not my magazine, but the magazine I've worked for the previous 30 plus years, that were the Weekly Pro Wrestling or Baseball Magazine shop, it was gonna go down too. But they saved by the company, and they change the structure, and they changed every process into digital, and you be making magazine through computer, and no more papers, nothing, and won't be using films. All the photo would be digital photos. That everything you write article, you have to write on computer, so you don't have to print it. You got to go through the printing right from your computer, and all the writers, including myself, we had to have a meeting, and our pay was cut drastically.
But one thing I think that listeners should know before all that is because you're explaining all of this and the detail and why that year was so impactful upon the print industry, because not like here in the States and in other English speaking countries, but in Japan, the print media is so important to the public relations
Very
of the wrestling
There was a
industry.
Tokyo Sport. Yeah, you pick up that evening sports paper at your train station nearby, and you read wrestling every day. You know, at one point, Weekly Pro Wrestling, the magazine I used to work for, they had 400,000 circulation each week all year long for 10-15 year period.
Wow.
You know,
So it's a big business.
yeah, I would stay up all night, week in, week after, week in, week out, day in, day out, years and years. We worked so many hours, and I had a feeling that the people are reading, you know, our wrestling magazine every week. So we were in it, you know, and basically Japanese wrestling fans are more reading oriented.
Right. Where
That need to be pointed out, right?
absolutely, because that's kind of where a lot of, promos might develop, or angles might even develop through the print media instead of on a TV
Right.
show.
Not on, yeah, magazine every week. That's why wrestlers' interviews are a lot more serious.
And
In Japanese wrestling, you never have silly storylines, you know?
right. Well, especially back when print was as big as it was like a sport. It was treated like
Yeah,
a sport.
80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Not as a sport, but better understanding of what wrestling should be.
mm,
But leave it at that, because professional wrestling is a type of sport and entertainment that every one of us have their, our own definition of what it is, and we have freedom for it.
that's very true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that applies to the whole UWFI and New Japan kind of
Yeah.
philosophical.
So it doesn't have to be the complete, what they call. I never use the word fake, but let me use that word just once. That some people love wrestling because it's kind of shown and entertainment and fake. Some people believed in wrestling as all real. A lot of people are right in between. They all have their own definition of wrestling, growing up, watching 10, 20, 30-year period. There's something you love so dearly that you have your own definition and your own understanding of it, and so many different levels.
Yeah, so many different levels, like not only from generation to generation, but
And Japanese wrestling magazine always catered to everybody. That we never said it was fake, but never said it was real either. But what you see is what you get. So you have your own understanding of it. That's freedom.
It's very interesting.
Hope I'm making sense to today's wrestling fan listening to just sitting and talking from Portland, Oregon, from Tokyo, Japan.
I hope so.
And the day before Christmas Eve in year 2020. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe this is a very long year.
Yeah.
Very interesting year for pro wrestling too. I don't think we feel it yet, but I think within 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, the reflection of society as a whole, though, when television, network television was huge, 50s and 60s, you watch that, you watch wrestling on regular television. In America too. When the cable came out, in early 80s, it switched to cable. I lived in Minnesota, watched the AWA, but when big cable TV thing came out in somebody's parents' house, you have cable, you started watching WTVS, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and kind of started learning there were other wrestling out there.
That was harder for me growing up because I grew up in New York, and where I grew up, it was only really WWF.
Okay.
unless I would drive out to visit my family in Western New York and Central New York, which is maybe 2-3 hours, west,
Oh,
closer to
okay.
Canada and Michigan. That from that area up into Canada was the kind of more NWA or the Johnny Powers. Well, I think it was
Yeah, yeah.
IWA or something, and
Other
Tunny.
But other wrestling existed. If you lived in Memphis, Tennessee, Jerry Lawler was it. If you lived in Dallas, Texas, Von Erichs were it, right?
Right.
Yeah. But the technology changed. Then there was pay-per-view that the program once a month or a few times, 5-6 times a year, that there's a special wrestling show that you have to be hooked up to cable and pay what, $25 to watch that Starcade or something,
Something like
or
that.
WrestleMania for that matter.
The first times that the first pay-per-view I remember watching had Japanese wrestlers in it, and that was WrestleMania 7 with Tenyu and Koji Kitao.
Oh, okay.
But the one that I really remember when I really started, I was older. I was like, 9 or so, and I really liked pro wrestling.
Still a kid.
I was a little kid,
Yeah.
but I saw Starcade when all of the New Japan talent came over. And to me, that was
Ah, okay, I
94,
get it.
95.
Yeah, around there.
That was my
Jim Howard era.
oh yeah, that was really impressive to me.
Into Eric Bischoff era. And there was another guy, Kip Fry, in between too. Yeah, but there's a conjunction that WCW and New Japan had a partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of fans that maybe around my age that grew up with that, that's what they saw. I mean, this was at a time where we didn't have Avengers movies, or the video games we had were, they're fun, but it wasn't like it is today. And
Yeah.
somebody like Shinjiro Otani had a match with like Eddie Guerrero on that.
Oh, okay.
It's when I never saw somebody bounce off the ropes and do a roundhouse kick or tornado DDT.
Oh yeah.
So it was like
stand on the top rope like swan dive, and yeah.
So to me, when I grew up watching a lot of WWF superstars, like a lot of enhancement matches, guys with the big bellies, and then I see, something like Eddie Guerrero and Shinjiro Otani, or like Chris Benoit with I think it was Jushin Liger. Yeah, it was just like I didn't know you could do all of that, or I didn't know. It's not that I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know that people were willing to go that far, because
or more competitive content.
Oh yeah, and it made me want to search for. It was harder to search for things just before the internet ages. You had to go to magazines.
Rewind the tape a little bit. That in early to mid '80s, that secret tape, VHS tape traders were there too. Smaller market, but you watch Tiger Mask against Dynamite Kid on like scratched VHS tapes in America, and oh my gosh, what is it, right?
Yeah, I was a tape trader when I was like 13, 15. I had my own
all the VHS tape.
Yeah,
it's all junk for today's fans, but VH tape was precious.
It was the only way. If you liked this stuff, it was the only way you'd be able to see it.
Well, WCW and WWF didn't have TV in Japan either, so I got all the VH tapes from America, and watched, weeks and sometimes months old pay-per-views on VHS.
But Japan. It still seemed fresh because we didn't have like the internet. We're not looking at the results every day, or it's still
right. So has changed. So wrestling had to change with it too. That's what's happening now. Now the pay-per-view is old thing, and all the wrestling will be on the internet and streaming. And now it's like a Zoom. You have Thunderdome because of COVID.
Do you think, like, how long was this gonna? I don't want to say how long is it going to last.
I mean, Thunderdomes. I mean, like a Zoom style.
Not just Thunderdome. Audience? No, not just Thunderdome, or just live events in general. If pro wrestling,
it'll be a while. Yeah,
isn't going to be a live event style business, then that means it's going to eventually have to change, fundamentally change. Though, I mean, when you watch wrestling, a lot of it's based on.
It doesn't depend on them.
How the crowd would react. So if you see somebody dive over the top rope and there's nobody there to cheer it, it just looks kind of bizarre.
Oh God, bizarre! Yeah.
So But on the other hand, something like MMA, for some reason, without the crowd, it's actually kind of, for me, it's better. All you hear are the coaches, and you hear the
Because what you do with or without audience, you do the same in MMA.
yeah,
You just have to beat your opponent as soon as possible.
right. It's
You
still
know,
a sport,
as soon as possible. You know,
but
yeah, the quicker the better.
yes, but with pro wrestling, I think it really does how it is right now. It needs fans to really be at its best.
Of course, because wrestling is performance. You're supposed to be doing that in front of a live audience. You communicate with your audience, and that the audience have feeling for it too. You know,
Mm.
what you're watching. You know, how you think about it, understand. You know, so I think Thunderdome is very important.
Seems pretty expensive.
But that not wrestling isn't the only thing that they're doing. That Zoom type of audience, you know, those, you know, Korean entertainment, you know, the K-pops, or even sometimes, you know, America's Got Talent
Mhm.
with big Zoom audience.
It's different. I don't. It's just hard for me to see it.
Yeah, but this COVID isn't gonna be gone anytime soon.
Mm.
You know, people may not be watching movies, new movies at movie theaters anymore. At least not another year or 2 or 3 even. That they'll change the movie industry. The football NFL isn't gonna have big huge audience. NHL, NBA, they're not gonna have big audience. You know, so it's not just about wrestling. It's about how world is shifting. I mean, it's a big theme now, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's gonna be.
We have to think about wrestling though, because it matters to us.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It matters the most. I mean, compared to other business, you know, other sports.
Are you going to Tokyo Dome shows?
What's that?
Wrestle Kingdom. Are you going to be in attendance? Or are you going to
Yeah.
watch?
Yeah. Both nights.
okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. January 4th and January 5th. Yes. I don't think I've skipped any of these. You know, I've been to all these Tokyo Dome show, I think.
Every single
So,
one.
close. Yeah.
If you had to,
I mean, dating back to 1989, the very first Tokyo Dome show,
oh,
Inoki was in it, Beta was in it, Fujinami Choshu, all these guys were in it. That the very first Tokyo Dome show back in 1989, I was there, of course. And every year, sometimes 2 Tokyo Dome shows.
right.
Sometimes they did the dome tour, like Tokyo Dome, Osaka Dome, Nagoya Dome, and Fukuoka Dome, all those baseball stadiums. They did all that, you know.
Wow.
And yeah, I traveled and went there because I was working for magazines, you know. Yeah.
Different time. So many
yeah.
people at those.
Yeah, different time. Yeah.
For this, for the first night at Wrestle Kingdom, we got Naito and Ibushi one more time. Are you excited for that one?
Yeah,
or-
IWGP Heavyweight title and IWGP Intercontinental double title
And this will decide the main event of the next night.
against Jay
That's
White.
right, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And the first night, the Okada against Will Ospreay will be very interesting too.
Mm.
This isn't the first time they met in the ring, but this time, you know, they evolves, and you know they will have progressed content to what they will do in the ring. Will Ospreay will bring in something new, and Okada will bring in something new. And both guys obviously are coming in with a game plan. So it's not a title match, but the Okada against Will Ospreay will be very, very interesting.
Do you expect any kind of storyline outside interference from Osprey's clique, B Priestley?
Probably. I'm hoping that it will not be the deciding factor of the outcome of the match. You know,
Right.
that'll piss people off. You know,
I don't think people would be happy with that, but I don't expect they would do that at the Tokyo Dome, would they?
I don't know. They might.
Who knows? But speaking of that,
Yeah, but the getting mad at match, you're already involved. you
yes. So it's too late anyway.
know? So yeah, so you have to accept it. And Tanahashi, Great Okan is the night that the Great Okan will probably become, bigger star than he is now. And I'm sorry, Tanahashi always have to do this, because Tanahashi is already a big, huge superstar like your Shawn Michaels or John Cena or Bret Hart, or Rock or Stone Cold. That he will always be part of the big Tokyo Dome show, but he is not going to be the focal point. But that's hard to say. But he is always putting people over, huh?
It's kind of like Liger with the junior heavyweight division.
Yeah, if you beat Liger, you're somebody,
Right.
you know?
But if he loses
If you beat Tanahashi in single match situation, yeah, you're a bigger star now,
every time.
type of thing.
But
Yeah.
Tanahashi doesn't lose any of his credibility.
No,
Yeah.
he's just as big. That's so good about Tanahashi. That guy is superstar. He looks it.
He's bulletproof.
And he's 44, but he's in great shape. And that guy is a superstar. I'm a big Tanahashi fan.
Oh yeah,
really.
I don't see how you can't be. He's a lot like Bret Hart in some ways.
Yeah, and a perfect professional wrestler. Yeah, fancy look, superstar aura. And he makes sure that people enjoy his match, entrance, music, costume, his hairdo. He'll probably wear a new costume too for the Tokyo Dome. It's like WrestleMania. They introduce new ring costume, right?
And he never has the same exact match. It's always a little different.
Oh no, that's good. That's one thing good about him. And also, Tanahashi is such a traditional professional wrestler that he takes care of his finish. High fly flow,
Mhm.
which is your frog splash. But when he beat the guy with one move, that's the level he is in. If he faces bigger name opponent, he use it twice. Some big match like a Okada single match, he will end up using 3 high fly flow and probably miss 1 or something. It means something every time he does it. So you really have to pay attention to what he does and when he does and how he does it. Really, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what he does with Okan.
Great Okan,
Because-
because it's like they're building for like his Great Okan will be your next I don't know. I can't say Undertaker or Bray Wyatt, but he's mysterious guy,
More
right?
like Killer Khan.
Yeah, today's Killer Khan. Yeah,
Yeah, like
but
not Bray Wyatt.
Great Okan has greatest amateur background though. He's a college wrestling champion. He has kickboxing background. He has traditional boxing background, wrestling background, MMA background. He's a great athlete overall, but he loves his gimmick. Oh my gosh!
Really?
Yeah,
So this is his.
the total package guy in a different way.
I always thought it was almost like a punishment in some ways because I remember when he was wrestling as
To make him into a gimmick.
yeah, because he was one of the more competitive young lions at the time. Him and
Yeah, but
and,
does he look like babyface to you?
no. But I didn't expect.
I think this is a great way to produce him. You
okay.
know?
I'm
Yeah, because not everybody has Tanahashi look. Not everybody has Okada look. See, Naito looks like a cool guy.
right,
You know?
and he talks in a
And
cool
he
way.
does things like heel, but people want to cheer him like babyface.
Yeah, he's like a kind of like cowboy, like anti-hero.
Anti-hero, establishment,
Yeah,
all
but
that.
he has a good
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah, and a cool guy.
Yeah,
Cool
he
guy.
says
yeah,
what
of
everybody wants to say, but he says it in a cool way that I guess fans can't say it like that. He can only do it his style, his tranquil style. So
course. Yeah, he works like heel, but the people cheer him like a babyface.
kind of the same,
And going,
like Steve Austin almost.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, cool guy.
Cool heel.
Yeah, more like a NWO kind
Sure.
of guy or D-Generation X type guy. Yeah. Whereas Kota Ibushi comes from like a complete, like a video Game Boy, generation. He does play games, but he works like a game,
He's unique. Absolutely.
Oh, very unique. Very unique. Yeah. But if you are traditional wrestling fans, Kenta against Satoshi Kojima would be interesting too.
That's really exciting. Yeah, I read that today. I wanted to. So it's going to be his 30th anniversary in January. His 30th anniversary in the business.
As a professional wrestler, and also, you know, you know, Juice Robinson got hurt. You know, he Ovic bone that he really got injured. You know, so it made some changes. But the Kenta against Kojima would be good because Kojima comes from New Japan background and also Muto boy and went to All Japan. And after All Japan, he came back to New Japan to have another run. Kenta is Giant Baba, very last Giant Baba student, debuted with All Japan, then went to Pro Wrestling Noah, and he was GHC champion. Then went to WWE, then didn't come back to Pro Wrestling Noah, and then joined New Japan. And he has different background. So Kenta against Kojima would be very interesting. You know, like a different philosophy, different background, different history, and yeah, it's really interesting.
Almost like old enemies.
And then different schools wrestling,
different philosophies. Yeah.
WCW guy against and WWE guy.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it would be interesting, right? Both superstars.
I'm interested to see who wins.
So that'll be interesting. That's the first night. The second night will be very interesting too. That the first night dark match, they're going to have 21-man battle royal. You know, New Japan Rumble
for the
21
for the new title.
And last 4 guys.
The King of Pro.
Last 4 guys will move into KOPW, King of Pro Wrestling, fatal 4-way match the second night.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, right?
Well,
maybe today's fan, your Shingo Takagi against Jeff Cobb the second night, the Never Championship match, open weight. That's interesting one, right?
That is one of the matches I'm looking most forward to. I think.
Oh, okay, I thought so.
I really like
Jeff Cobb. I think will have very long run with New Japan.
That's great.
Yeah, Jeff Cobb will be treated like New Japan superstar.
You know who
He wouldn't want to go to WWE. He wouldn't want to work any place else in America. Jeff Cobb wants to have long career in Japan.
Do you think he's always going to work as a heel? Because I feel like he is.
I don't think so. Yeah, this is wrestling, so you should not have a short sight. You know, so a lot of the even the hardcore fans ended up having such short-sighted like reaction to it. But if you look back, kick back, sit back, wrestlers will go through identity changes. Some years you worked as a heel, you turned babyface after heel, you're over, and you turn back to heel, and then you turn back to babyface. And then there goes your 10 years, 15 years. Remember Ricky Choshi was like that? So Jeff Cobb can be heel today, but people are waiting for him to turn babyface. But right when he was over as babyface, the time comes that he may turn back to, heel. Roman Reigns is a heel now. See? Give wrestlers long run, that way.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, and especially that match with
Takagi.
Shingo
Takagi against Jeff Cobb is very, very interesting. And Sanada against Evo will be very interesting too. It's the same matchup from the G1 Climax. So therefore, they're not going to do the same match.
That's right. I'm really looking forward to that one too. I like both. I think this is the right way to do the story. It's just simple.
Yeah, Sanada is ready to, to pretty much elevated,
Is it time? Do you think he's going to, what do you expect from him out of 2021?
Wow, because he is already a G1 Climax winner. So he had the maybe 2 or 3 steps above where he was last year. But not quite IWGP champion caliber yet, huh? It takes a while, And with this, COVID pandemic scheduling thing that they will have less shows, They're not going to have 120 shows a year, anything like that. So it will take Sanada for a little longer to get there. I like him.
I like him too, and I know that in Japan, I feel like he has diehard fans. The people that like Sanada, they love Sanada. They really, really like him.
Yeah, but he is not marketed as such though.
How come?
Hardcore fans already noticed him, but the general audience are not conditioned to look at Sanada as your next champion yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think it's something about him, like his personality or his charisma, that like he might not be
I
connecting with
think
the crowd?
he has it. He has it. It just matter of time, you know. See, you didn't think Edge was ready, right?
Mm,
But Edge had his own run. Did you think CM Punk was ready to be WWE champion that long?
that I don't think anybody could have
But he
expected
had
that,
run.
but he did, yeah. And he was very
Yeah,
popular.
so
Very popular.
yeah, when he was and while he was, yes. So Sanada can be that too, and Evil can be that too.
I think the perception of Evil is a little bit different over here than in Japan. I think in Japan he's interpreted as much cooler and much
Oh, okay.
stronger.
American fans don't look at Evil as anything special.
Well, I think when they see him wrestle, they see a guy who's wrestling kind of an American wrestling style. He wrestles a perfect kind of almost heel with nothing too flashy, but every single thing he does is consistent every time he's in the ring. For some reason, because he's not doing anything that's extraordinary, but
Every Japanese wrestlers don't have to be the flashy athletic guy.
right. But I think some fans, when people say, "Oh, I'm going to watch Japanese wrestling," they want to see something that
Or athletic.
or just something that doesn't resemble WWE,
American.
AEW. They want they look at it as an alternative to their regular viewing, whereas
Then they have to be watching New Japan Junior Heavyweight division then.
why is that?
Well, because it's all athletic. El Desperado, the Hiromu, yeah, Takahashi, even Taguchi, now Master Wato, these guys are all great cruiserweight, great junior heavyweight, Oh,
Ishimori, yeah, he has the
so good. It's like so good, right?
yeah. I got to see him up close last year at Super J Cup in Washington. He had
Yeah, the guy's what, 5'6"?
very small,
You
but
know?
he's huge.
Yeah.
Him and Sho.
Oh, it's athletic.
And he's been around and he's been doing it for a long time. I have a lot of
Yeah,
respect
like
for him.
18 years.
He's
Yeah.
about the same age as Ibushi, I think. Same kind of situation.
Right.
Kind of
Ibushi's like 38 or something. He doesn't look
amazing.
it, but yeah.
That's him and Ishimori are about the same age, and he'll face whoever wins between Hiromu Takahashi and El Phantasmo on January 4th.
Hiromu Takahashi El Phantasmo match is intriguing, very intriguing for American fans,
yes,
right?
Yes, very much so.
Mm.
Um,
So you have to watch both nights, January 4th and January 5th. 2 shows. You really have to watch both.
so it's kind of one show almost altogether, 2 volumes.
I guess.
Seems
Yeah,
that way.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to stay up for it. I'm gonna stay up.
You want to watch live, huh?
Yeah, but on the West Coast, I don't think it's too bad because it might start before midnight. Actually,
Oh,
I have
okay.
to check the.
Or living in New York City, it's like you start in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it would start these days. I guess I'm assuming 1 a.m. in the East Coast.
Well, it's like a 5 o'clock in the evening over here, so it should be like a 3 o'clock in the morning in New York City. Oh my gosh,
Okay, yeah, something like that.
crazy, yeah. But I get up in the morning and watch WrestleMania. But the world is a smaller place now,
I want to see if we can, somehow, in a few years, there's got to be some way where, for international shows, there could be a platform where international fans could get together in
Yeah,
a more easy way.
if other Japanese company like All Japan or Big Japan or Pro Wrestling Noah, if they had English commentary and English speaking play-by-play, that will make them popular, even more popular now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's something they have to work on.
Noah just added English commentary to their recent pay-per-views.
Have you heard that?
Yeah, it's I listened to it lightly, but it was late at night when I was watching, so I wasn't paying. It was good, so I wasn't insulted by it or anything. So I didn't. But it
Right.
was fine.
But you will need English commentary,
Yeah,
right?
it's a fellow from Wales, Mark Pickering. He does the quintet commentary too. So it was delivered in more of like a formal and kind of straight way.
Yeah, it's okay. Sport broadcasting, play-by-play person can be really dorky and good.
Yeah. I think Kevin Kelly does an amazing job. He's been
Yeah,
the most
he's good.
consistent.
Yeah, very good.
But All Japan really needs something because
I think so.
it's such a good product right now. I think
Yeah, I think so
if
too.
people watch
Yeah.
it's all simply like if people watched it, they would be into it.
Yeah, Kento Miyahara deserves bigger recognition.
We were just watching his tag team match with Ishikawa and Suwama and Aoyagi from the tournament.
Aoyagi will be in main event class next year.
Yeah, he seems like he's on his path. It started kind of since last year.
Yeah, he's ready.
He's very
ready.
interesting. He has a lot of charisma too. He's quite funny.
Yeah, and then he's only 24, and he's dojo coach now. Even
Really? He's a bit young
Oh,
for
the
that.
conditioning.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
yeah, but the conditioning coach,
How does the dojo work at All Japan? Who is in charge right now?
Aoyagi.
He's at okay.
Senior wrestler come in the afternoon and they their own workout, but the group practice in the morning, like 10 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like those 3-hour practice, like all conditioning and bumps, all the young guys attend, and Aoyagi conducts that.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, every day.
Wow.
Then you go in there and have big, huge chanko. Clue your American listeners what chanko is.
Chanko nabe is like a protein-filled hot pot, like a stew that sumo wrestlers eat to get really strong and powerful, but it's carried on to.
And you gotta have 5 or 6 ball of rice too to go with it.
Of course, and right around now, actually, from last month, this is a perfect season for chanko nabe or any kind of nabe.
Chanko nabe. Yeah.
And if you,
I make chanko at home
yeah?
too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's easy.
My jiu-jitsu dojo and Kinshicho, we would have nabe party after.
They have chanko too.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's good. Chicken and pork and all the veggies and sometimes fish and different flavors every day, so you don't get sick of it, you know?
And in Yogoku, there's a lot of different chanko nabe kind of shops.
Yeah, do not go to sightseeing ones, the expensive and just mediocre. You go to back street and find the real, wall in a hall in the wall place and have real chanko in the Ryogoku area. There's so many.
Probably owned by one of the sumo stables.
Ex-sumo wrestlers,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's another cultural thing. See, after pandemic, this year we're not going to have a lot of American tourists, but last 5, 6, 7 years, there are so many Americans or that the people from all over the world attending year-end wrestling, smaller shows, stop at the wrestling stores, go to bars that are owned by wrestlers, or go to Ribera Steakhouse, just see all the Korakuen shows, Shinkiba shows, then attend your Tokyo Dome show as your climax of your trip, and just it's a great travel plan, don't you think?
It was getting more and more popular by the year too.
Yeah, but the pandemic, COVID changed it too. But hope it'll change next year.
Do you think that in Japan, do you think that they will open the? Do you think the quarantine will stop? Do you think they'll shorten the quarantine, or?
This is related to wrestling, but not related to wrestling. The whole vaccine thing is a more political issue than medical and health issues, huh?
I think so.
Yeah. Not everybody will get vaccine right away, and some people are against it.
That's right.
Or even the conspiracy theory people.
Oh gosh.
They still think COVID-19 is a hoax or something, right? It's bad.
That's a hoax.
We have that here too.
Really?
Yeah. Some people refuse to wear masks, although most Japanese people wear masks. You remember that?
not as it's not an issue. It's a different issue here because it's new, but been it's normal in Asia, all of Asia.
Yeah, when you have a flu, you have mask on,
Mm,
not to give it to
I used to
people.
teach sometimes when I was sick. I mean, it was difficult, but I wore a mask.
You wore that?
Well, if it was bad, because sometimes my voice would get really, you could really hear I was ill, but I could work. I just put the mask on, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm a little, it's okay, but
you have
and I didn't
cough.
want my nose was like kind of, I didn't want it to run. I had a mustache too, and I didn't want it to be like
Okay.
disgusting in front of so I would just wear a mask.
Right.
It's a little difficult in language class.
And also, in America, most places are like a really driving cars, like
Yes.
driving oriented. But when you come to Japan, you get on the subway, you get on the train, you get on the bullet train, you be with public, like a lot of people,
Yeah.
So you got to wear a mask.
You're breathing on each other, literally. That's no joke.
On subways?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Especially around this time, Bonenkai time, everybody's doing their parties.
Bonenkai.
They're,
You got to clue them in.
oh, I guess you could.
Bonenkai is a year-end party, like a holiday season
Yeah,
party.
forgetting the
Everybody
year,
happy.
forgetting everything that happened in 2020. It's
Yeah.
you go and usually with your company, or not usually families. It's usually with your company, or maybe with school, somebody like a school circle or something. But
yeah.
but it gets so
all
packed
those
on the
Bonenkai
subway.
are canceled this year.
That's
Japan.
good. That's good. Because
Yeah.
it would always, right before Christmas into New Year's, because this is when people's vacations would start. And certain areas would
and
get
find a
crazy.
reason to party every night of the week that during this time.
But I remember getting onto, because I worked late. I would work until, sometimes I wouldn't get home until midnight, so that I would catch the last trains around these times, and they were just, you couldn't get on them.
Packed.
You couldn't get on them. There was one in not Kinchicho. It was somewhere near Kinchicho subway station where the glass cracked because it was really cold, and there were so many people that
the train.
Inside the train there was a little crack that was inside the window because it was so the between the air and the cold air from outside.
Yeah, and the pressure.
Yeah, I don't know the physics of it. I'm sorry. That wasn't my subject, but that's what happens.
The window cracked.
The window cracked, and you were breathing on each other. So
that's scary now, though. Really.
It really is, but it's also like it's embedded in the culture too.
Yeah, but back to wrestling. This pandemic and the internet live streaming oriented wrestling and a little bit of Thunderdome reaction that it will affect wrestling and wrestling content and what they do in the ring too, because it's completely different communication.
It's hard to predict what will happen. It really is month by month sometimes.
Yeah, but we will be witnessing all that, in the months to come.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the bigger companies in Japan are going to be putting on shows at the beginning of January. So it seems like we'll be able to see.
Yeah, the Pro Wrestling Noah's Budokan show coming up in March 3rd. The Stardom is having their Budokan show for the first time. That they will have the biggest lineup too.
Mm-hmm. Big announcement they made last week.
Just like what they did with New Japan, the same Bushiroad owner. They are going to place all the big posters around all the train stations in January and February for the Stardom show.
That's right. So many, like maybe 30 or 40.
Yeah, every train station will have big, huge Stardom posters. Like they're booming.
That would be, to me, pretty crazy to see. I even thought it was a little, not crazy, but around this time is when you sometimes more and more see New Japan. Like when I was living there, at first, not as much, but only around this time, like Wrestle Kingdom time. But never anything with women. That's like something I never saw that there.
Well, and also Stardom is just about the only women's company that can handle that.
That's right. None of the other companies had.
And more wrestlers are signed with Old Japan, the Stardom, and they'll have big roster soon.
It looks pretty prime time.
Pretty big roster now already.
Yeah, and a lot of new faces.
Yeah, And also, before I forget, I just received Hana Kimura's 2021 calendar.
I heard about that. That's right. These new calendars that are on sale.
Not for the sale, but that every penny, all the money will go into the court, fee.
Yes, that's Kyoko Kimura's her mother's ongoing court fees against the case against Fuji TV.
Yeah, and then also in process of organizing NPO, non-profit organization, to fight the internet cyberbullying. The network of people, the whole bunch of people are supporting it. So they're in the process of making a non-profit organization for the cause.
And that organization is a small part of a bigger part of something that's going on with the government, like with the actual law being a new law being enforced, because that kind of stems
and
out of this.
I'm almost hoping that they'll name it like a Hana law.
It's very possible, isn't it?
Yeah. After the case.
Wow.
After the court case.
So people should really understand how
Kyoko Kimura was on the network, all over network news, evening news, just a few nights ago.
I saw that. I was on a big TV station, like TBS or something.
Yeah, they did the big, huge interview with Kyoko Inoue. I mean, Kyoko Kimura. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. How is the?
So that's an ongoing thing too. Not to forget Hana Kimura.
It hasn't even been a full year, not even close.
7 months.
7 months.
Yeah, for you it's like been, but for me it's been like it was like yesterday.
No, we watched her together, just maybe just over a year ago, last September.
Yeah,
that's what you were talking to me the whole time. It was about what was going to happen in 2020. The plan it was her. She was gonna.
Yeah, Hana Kimura was going to be. I still believe it to this day that she was going to be the answer, Japan's answer to Dwayne Johnson.
It seemed like that, and that was only within 2-3 months, 4 months. I don't know, but it was right before Terrace House started airing, I think.
Yeah, reality show was going to be a big vehicle,
That and the Julia was big news, and there was a lot of momentum.
So
it was real. And I remember there was a little like 7-year-old dressed up as Hana Kimura, had the same hair.
The costume, the whole costume.
You could feel it.
So I think about Hana Kimura every day.
I think many people do.
Still do. Yeah. So I guess that will wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, let's wrap it up for now. Unless there's anything else that you'd like to.
Oh no, we can talk about this anything all night long, but let's do it again.
Okay.
The episode 2.
We'll do it on episode 2. And if any of the patrons, if you have questions, you can email me, Justin at Fight Game Media.
Yes, I would like to answer. I mean, anybody who wants to know anything at all about Japanese wrestling, let's share.
And where can they find you online?
Fumihiko Dayo, Fumihiko Dayo on Twitter, or just Fumi Saito on Facebook.
Very good. Okay, so for Fumi Saito, I'm Justin. We'll see you next time.
Fumi Saito.
Write that down.
Write that